Hi, well, Bill. It's Halloween 2022, and I'm in costume. I'm dressed like a poor person. The fact that I am a poor person and I rock it is not as important as the fact that I know how to dress for the occasion. So, I don't have a suit. And they won't bury me. They'll throw me somewhere and flash fry me and spread the ashes over somebody's garden, I hope. Anyway, my my mom. I got to say it this way, I guess. My mom was a really amazing person. A lot of guys say that about their mom. My mom was an amazing person. She told me one day, "Bill, you're asleep." I was asleep too. One day I woke up. And what she meant was one day she woke up to her imperative that I am a talented person, I'm a creative mind, I am a person that wants to make a point. And she did it in four different realms. Superlatives are deserved. We grew up thinking that you could do anything because our mom could do anything. Unfortunately for me, she was more powerful than I. Oh well, there are limits to things. My middle sib, Tori, was the talent in the family. My mother was the intellect in the family. My dad was the athlete in the family. Geez, those are my three fields, and I have family members that exceeded me at every one. That's unfair. Don't you think I should be special? So my mother used to say, "Bill, I was asleep, and then I woke up." And that's when she wrote her television show and her two books, and that's when she got a job teaching at Fox Chapel High School and kept her until she wanted to leave. They were like, "You can stay." She's like, "No, I got other stuff to do." Retrained herself in botany, landscape architecture, horticulture. I mean, degrees in each of these, and greenhouse management, 4 degrees right there, because she had an imperative. Became a master gardener. Well, that isn't a title that I know of. She became a greenhouse manager. That's a title she earned. And so much so that Penn State called her on the phone after she matriculated and said, "Would you like to run the greenhouses for the summer? We'll pay you like a teacher, and we'll give you one of those like stately little cottages for teachers for you and your husband." And she said, like, "Well, I don't think Bernie's going to take to sitting on a chair all day." And they says, "Well, we'll find him a job." That's how good my mother was. Penn State said, "We'll find your husband a job because you're so worthwhile. We'll keep you." So the kids grew up thinking, well, "Hey, we can do anything." Well, I never had Penn State ask me to stay. As a matter of fact, the police escorted me off. So, well, any college I went to, and I did, isn't like, "Oh, I hope he comes back," because they probably got better dope dealers now. I'm kidding. Anyway, my mother, seeing me struggle and unable to do anything competently, ever, still, would say to me while we were still talking, "Bill, one day you'll wake up." I was asleep, and then one day I woke up. And when I said woke up before, I meant to her imperative. I am here to create. I am here to validate my existence in ways that society will approve. What a woman. What a person. Oh, wow. What a man. No kidding. She invented herself in a world that was dominated by men, where women got paid about a third for the same job. She, a survivor like my daddy was of the Great Depression, both of them forced to work at a very young age because you had to. And so they didn't understand me at all. Lazy, indolent, unable to communicate. I was a bad talker, bad musically speaking, because I didn't have any substrate to stand on. So it was always just, you know, didn't really have anything to contribute, not to the family, not to society. Lived on the dole, slept on more than one park bench. Had nothing because I earned nothing because I deserved nothing. So that makes me a failure in society because society does not judge you by any criteria except how much money you make, about, unless you force it to notice something else. So my mother would tell me, and more than once, someday you'll wake up, Bill. Someday you'll wake up. But I lived the existence of the opium eater. Not that I do, not that I ever have, but that existence, that drifting from pillar to post, that you're lucky if some girl thinks you're cute, and so for a while you got a place to stay. And my mother died young, expecting me to someday wake up and exceed her. Because a parent, on some level, dreams of their progeny exceeding them. Doesn't always show. But my mother dreamed of her children exceeding her. The eldest sister has done more good work in the world than my mother did in all her years. The middle sister subsumed her intensely artistic creative nature into the creation of a house and a nurturing environment for her daughter. Admirable, beyond superlatives. And it killed her because she was an artist and she forced herself. She climbed into a box into which she did not fit and rocked it. Nobody ever knew she was in there. So then we get to me. I have no superlative to add except never stop talking. Thanks a lot, Bill. You know, we already got political shock jocks for that. People that are just asses that don't have any college degree that think that they're experts. We got plenty of those. Especially the ones that are sponsored by people whose products we wouldn't buy. Yeah, and whose morals and ethics we wouldn't approve if we knew. Well, it's a thing. So it's culture, it's society. This is what's behind. This is the substrate upon which society stands. This is the tapestry against which society functions, of course. And I talk about it a lot, so I'm not going to go on about it here. However, my mother predicted that one day I would wake up. My father dreamed of that day happening. He hoped she was right because I was the worst son ever. When I mean the worst son ever, I don't mean for crimes committed. I mean for lack of respect for his parents and his parents' way of life. That's what I mean. Lack of understanding the necessity for pulling in traces with the rest of society in order to make incremental changes that eventually benefit everyone. And she figured that I would wake up one day and be able to understand that and work within it and rock it, do better than she did. My dad dreamed that that would happen someday, and so he hung around. My mother died young. My dad died more than 10 years later. He watched her decline. Pieces of his soul ripped out. He lived more than 10 years after my mom, and it never happened. I never woke up. He passed away still loving me, which is quite a feat if you know my history with him. But bereft of any certainty that his son would ever amount to anything. Imagine being me now and understanding this. All wisdom is pain. I'm not kidding when I say that. Oh yes, it's pain. No wisdom is gained without a huge amount of pain, without wounds in your soul that probably won't heal. Because personality is the scar tissue that grows over trauma. And we're getting too old to grow that scar tissue, so the wounds will just show now. But my mom died in her 80s. I had never opened my eyes once. My dad died in his 90s. I don't remember ever being awake in those years either. My dad's older sister died at at 103. So they were like a decade apart each. And she still believed that someday the kids born to the family would amount to something beautiful. And she saw something for a short while that gave her hope. And it was something I did, and also something my oldest sib did, because our middle sib had passed away by then. She would have contributed too. Um, she passed away, and that left the family, my family, as my oldest sister, who's 8 years older than me, and was never an athlete. Hard worker, but not as likely to be in tremendous shape as she gets older, unless she attends to it, right? And doesn't have the habits of it. No offense. I mean, phew, there are a lot of things to attend to, and she's attended to all the right ones, so. You know. But if I hadn't smoked so many cigarettes, I would probably exceed her and outlive her, unless I had some other problem, unbeknownst. But I'm very mortal, and I think that my mortality will tell on me very soon. So you're seeing me at a good spot. God bless us both. Hope we're able to do this again next year, the next year, the next year. But I hadn't opened my eyes. Now, my parents, my sisters, my parents' families, my mother's older sister, Jan, my dad's youngest sister, Jeannie, they had they had lives that none of them would trade for anything, that they would never say that they loved it, bought it, melded them, it molded them so well that they are perfect illustrations of its positive factors. You dig in, you haul yourself up by your bootstraps, you reinvent yourself, you put the time in, you work as hard as you possibly can, because that's how you establish your reputation as a man among men, as a worker among workers, as a member of your community among other members. But not me. I was lucky people were nice to me. I certainly wasn't a likable person. And so my mom died without ever seeing anything from me, as far as she knew. My dad died, hoping that someday it would happen. 10 years later, around. Then around 10 years later, his older sister died, thinking like, well, Bill showed some promise. And my older sister says, Bill is struggling. He could really use the kind of help that I've trained through my life to extend to others. And so she did some work in my life, and I'm now not competent, but comfortable. I've never been comfortable before unless I was living with a girlfriend. And then I was interacting poorly with her because I wasn't much of a man. But here I am with a sister who loves me, and things are as comfortable as they've ever been for me. I'm eating better than I ever ate. As an older person, I can't ravage myself as I used to, through partying and stuff, staying up late. But I am able to function better than ever, and I still haven't woke up. All those advantages, all those terrible experiences, any one of them should have woke me up, like my mother wanted me to wake up, like my dad dreamed I would wake up, like my aunt thought I possibly could, just 80 years too late. So what happened that changed who I was? Hard to describe, but I will put it this way. One day I recognized that we all have the same destination, and that I will never, ever, ever be competitive financially with people who are good at it. Ever. To rate myself against those people is to seek destruction. But during that long ride of mine, and God, I'm getting to 50 years now that I've been away from home. During that long ride, like an opium meter, leaning on the side of the car, looking out the window every once in a while, fall asleep, humming songs in my head, seeing visions, having poetry recited in my head from who knows where. Open my eyes. Look at that. That is so cool. And out came a poem. Out came a song. A period of stress. And out came these wonderful, colorful drawings and posters. Ideas that I haven't seen elsewhere. Making me original. Can you imagine? I'm an original artist. I don't just paint black felt Elvis and bullfighter paintings. I create original art that other people haven't. That's if society wasn't about how much money you made, I would be a great and noble exemplar of what you should do with your life. But it isn't that way. That's a what if scenario. And I am a failure in life. But here are these wonderful artworks, some of them absolutely original. Nobody thinks like me. I ask you, my friends, does anybody you know think like me? Some people will say, "Oh, I know a guy that's so much like you." I meet the guy, it's like, "Whoa, he's not like me," and he's like, "No, he's not like me." So I never woke up ever. I'm still not awake. But what happened was I opened my eyes, saw beautiful things, recorded them, reacted to them, put my reactions on paper, put my reactions in song, and eventually, one day I realized that it was all about the journey. And that journey had moments in everyone's life when they didn't have anything, or when they felt they didn't have anything, when they were empty. And that it doesn't matter how much money you have when you finish, because everyone ends the exact same way. What mattered was what your ride was like. I never woke up. My mom dreamed in vain, egged me on in vain. My father waited in vain. My aunt, kindly person, waited in vain. I never woke up. I never became a productive member of society. At this point, when I'm feeling very mortal, and I don't think I'm going to make the next couple of years, but if I do, I'll be happy. I no longer think it's about living to be 104 and being worth $10 million or $50 million or $100 million or a quarter of $1 billion or $1 trillion. Some are worth that. And I will never, ever, ever be able to compete in that way with those people. Some of them started with a huge leg up, by the way. Didn't make it from zero to billions or trillions. They made it from their family was well off and they had investments that were already paying off and they had people that they met through those investments, and one hand pats the other end. But in a way, they have to be determined to do it. They have to feel that that is their imperative, or they will drop away from it and just enjoy, or, well, as best as they can. If you don't have an imperative, how can you enjoy? You can only exist. When I didn't have an imperative, I existed. I cared for nothing. I understood moral and ethical structure. I mean, I'd been taught it, but it didn't apply to me. Everything I did was right. I sleep at the wheel, right? Whoa, you know. So one day I recognized that it was about the ride, and if we look back at the rides of all the people on Earth, well, it's not too bad. I got fed by strangers a lot. I got loved by women that didn't have a hope. Some of them found better men than me after. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Be merciful to all. Some of them found the same thing again because what they were looking for. Sometimes that's good. Wait, if you were a person that didn't like to stay with people too long, you get tired of them after a while, wouldn't it be nice to just have one for a little while, then one for a little while, one for a little while? Well, right. So in the process of my never waking up, I did gain views of the passing scenery, and those passing scenery moments affected my soul very strongly, and that came out in art. All kinds of art. Wow. Even today I'm creating art. I'm so bad at things. And it doesn't matter because if you're an artist, you create art no matter what your level of technical ability is. I said that before, and it's true now. Today I dance. Because I lost the use of my hands, I can't practice karate. So I save all my hands for 10 minutes on Wednesday. Play piano. Nothing else is as important because it's all about the ride. And on my ride, I look back and see all these incredible sights, these amazing people I've met. Mostly haven't treated them very well, but there you go. Now I treat them better. All wisdom is pain, so my treating people better was earned, and was earned at the cost of hurting others. No one deserves that. But I realized that my ride was valid. It is valid. 1,000 full-color, full-size posters. Quite a few of which were desired. Great many of my fellow artists thought that I was a graphic artist, that was my only art. That music wasn't, why are you writing songs but when you could be continuing to draw these wonderful posters, and let's get together, open a gallery. That wasn't my imperative. That was one of my flailings about while I slept my opium dream on the train. And I wake up and go, is that cool? Oh, and fall asleep again. And today, I have spent 3 years with my eyes slitted open rather than completely closed and occasionally opening. Now my eyes have been slitted open for 3 years. I've seen things I didn't see before because I didn't used to see the transitions, the towns, the stops. I just saw the scenery. Now I'm seeing the transitions, the towns, the slums, the walled and gated communities along the way. I understand more. I have more wisdom. It hasn't woke me up yet. I'm still the dreamer, with my eyes slitted watching the scenery go by. And so my mom died bereft of the dream that her son would someday wake up. My dad died bereft of the dream that someday his son would wake up. And my aunt, who thought I had promise, would not have been altogether pleased with that progress until now. And now I have bodies of artwork, posters that are worthy. Some of them would still sell if I tried, but then I'd be without art, without portfolio, and the money would go and I'd have nothing. I'd rather have the art. I'd rather die with the art than have it all gone and say I have nothing and die. Anyway, that was what I wanted to talk about. The ride. That the ride has been terrible and awful and horrible and pretty abusive to others. But it was a ride. And at moments, I finally embraced my potential. No one thought that would ever happen. My family dreamed it would happen. But here I am embracing my full potential. If I turn this button on and wait for this buggy piano to warm up enough that it won't spike on me, I can do magic. And I have friends whose level of musicianship by far exceeds mine. But as an artist, I can create art out of what I know, even if it isn't that much. So I created poetry when I didn't know much. And now my poetry is vastly more refined. It doesn't make it better, because refinement isn't the only quality by which we rate art. And certainly not the cost, because none of the great artists sold as much in their lives as they did afterward. Yeah. Oh, that was it. So to my parents, whom I love, and to my aunt, who I love, and her, and my other aunt, whom I love, my sisters, who I love, and my eldest sister, who is the one left out of this whole system, who still benefits me in every day, I tell you that I'm never going to amount to anything. But your help has provided an artist with a springboard to create art. Thanks. Thanks. When I'm dead, nothing's going to matter except my art. Nobody's going to care how many dollars I made. Nobody's going to care. None of my great grandchildren would care who I was or care to learn anything about me. But you few have created the springboard by which I could stride across the sky without a penny to my name. Love you all. Wild Bill. Halloween 2022. In a way, I wish you all wake up in time. And in another way, I hope you never have to wake up. I'm not sure which one to wish upon you.